Hello traders, hope you guys are good and welcome to this week's segment of our market breakdowns. Without wasting any time, I'm going to start by looking at EURGBP. As you can see right here, we're in this consolidation over here, right? Meaning that we have equal amounts of buyers and sellers, right? If we look at other areas, you could see that we have this area of liquidity over here in the form of an all-time high. We also have this area of liquidity over here, but also, right, if you zoom in, we have this level right here, right? So from what we see right now, price could be going up in the near future. Remember what I said about consolidations, that whenever I see a consolidation, the one thing I think about is liquidity, because consolidations have high amounts of liquidity. That's because people are buying and selling on either side. You understand? So this is the monthly. Let's go to the weekly. Right. So as you can see right here, we had our equal lows, meaning that this area had liquidity. Get me? So if you look at recent price action, price was coming down, broke this low, came back, broke this low, came back, broke the low, came back, broke this low, and now it's coming back. Whether or not it's going to continue downwards, it's unknown, right? Because the market can break through this area. So it means that for now, we have to rely on what we saw on a higher time frame, which is price, sorry about that, which is price potentially going up in the long run, right? So this was an area of liquidity that was taken out. And basically, we have this supply region right here acting as a barrier. So I'm gonna just highlight that. All right. We need price to break this zone to confirm bullish trend, right? And then if it does happen, this will be my first take profit, as it is an area of supply, right? But I am expecting price, if it breaks through this level, to continue going to the upside. But anyways, guys, these are my sentiments on EURGBP. Let's go to another pair. Okay, now we're on EURUSD. Now on lie, Oaks, this pair has been disappointing. So as you can see right now, we are approaching this level over here, right? And we already talked about this level in the previous weeks, the fact that it hasn't been confirmed and all of that, but we still consider it, or we still deem it as confirmed because it's in line with the main trend, right? We also remember, right, that there's this gap over here that price could fill. That price hasn't actually filled if you're looking, right? we have this demand zone over here. Okay, so from the weekly, what you can take from this is that, let me write it down. We're in a long-term downtrend. So price still hasn't broken through any previous structure. The uptrend is not confirmed. Right, number two, we are approaching supply. Right, and then number three is inefficiency. Below price action. Right, so what we can see from the previous weeks is that simply price took liquidity from this area. So we initially opened the sells, but then we closed the positions out of precaution because it was a Friday and price printed a bullish candlestick on the day. So I didn't know that the following week price would go up, but that's what the market does, guys. So let's go to the daily. Right. So as you can see with the daily, the market has taken liquidity from this zone over here. Remember what I said about consolidations? Took liquidity here, took liquidity here, and now the market seems to be going into this area. If it goes all the way to this area, then it has this area to use as a supply level, right? So I could place a limit order here. Right. It's a good RR. And then right here, there's an area of liquidity, right? Because it's a swing low. And then also right here, there's an area of liquidity. All right. So I'm just waiting to see how price responds next week to price action. But what I think will happen is I think that we should expect the bears to come in, right? So yeah, these are my thoughts on EURUSD. Let's move on to another pair. On EURJPY, I have to start on the monthly though. So first things first, if you look at the monthly, we're in this downtrend, and this is a low, this is a high. So in an uptrend, we know that highs are always being violated by but lows are always being respected, right? So that's what we see over here. This low over here will be also noticed as an area of liquidity, right? If you look at this area over here, orders have been filled. So we're only looking for areas of potential liquidity, right? Now we're interested in this price action over here. So assume that this was maybe a valid or potential area of supply. What do we see wrong with this area of supply? Number one, we see congested price action. The fact that price is spending way too much time on the zone, right? So that's the first thing we see, right? Number two, we see that there isn't a strong imbalance departing away from that area, right? So what I'm expecting, to be honest, is a continuation of the uptrend. If we go lower, what you can see is that price took liquidity here, right? Took liquidity from these equal lows, then tapped into this order block here. Although my problem with that order block could be the fact that it has a weak departure away from it, right? So another area, or an area that could act as a barrier, is this one over here. This is a opposing supply, which we need to take note of. And then we have this demand over here. So let's look at this demand. On this demand, we have a strong departure. Number one. Number two, it's confirmed because it has broken previous structure. And this you will see, especially if you go to lower time frames. And then number three, it's aligned with the main trend, right? So what does that mean for us? It means that price could potentially go back to that zone to fetch orders, especially because it has left this huge imbalance. So I'm not expecting this next week. Even so, next week it would be nice if we had a candlestick consolidating away, right, from this demand zone, right? The ideal situation is us having a candlestick consolidating away, and then the following week price retesting and going up to this level, getting off second retest or a third retest if we get a retest here, and then breaking out. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two is we continue with the strong momentum upwards. Then scenario three is us maybe tapping into the supply and then going downwards. You understand? But let's run with the first scenario. I'll post an update on this during the week. So with the first scenario, remember I said we had a break of structure, and that's what we're seeing here. So price took liquidity, or price is taking liquidity, and then it's faced with this opposing supply, although it's not a strong area of supply. Why? It has a lot of basing candlesticks. That's the problem with it. It has a lot of basing candlesticks. But assume that it's taking liquidity and moving into an order block. Price still has incentive to come back here into an order block that resulted in a break of structure. Look at this imbalance over here, right? Right? I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen next week, but in the long run, that's what I'm expecting. That's something that seems possible. So if that happens, I don't know what's happening today, guys. If that's happening, this is how I'm going to approach the trade. You understand? If that happens, that's how I'm going to approach the trade. But yeah, this is what I think will happen to EURJPY. If we look towards the left, if maybe we have to sell, I would want to sell from this region over here, simply because over here there is no imbalance, right? So at least here there's an imbalance, the strong departure, and it's only retested once, right? But yeah, let's move on to another pair. Final pair of the week, we have NZDJPY. As you can see, we're in an uptrend, right? Until we got to this point over here where we grab liquidity. I'm gonna zoom in now. Where we grab liquidity, and now it seems like price wants to drop. So for us to confirm the drop, what do we have to do? We have to break through the previous swing low. And I'll write that down. All right. So here you can see that after we've taken that liquidity, after we've taken that liquidity, we went into this supply area, which is not necessarily ideal because of the reason we might know by now, right? But yeah, so far we know that supply is in control. And then in the long run, we're in a downtrend. Why? Because we haven't broken any opposing structure, especially the trend structure. You understand? So that's what's happening right now. If the market does break through this zone, and I think I've spoken about it in previous breakdowns, that it has incentive to come all the way to the upside, right? There's still an imbalance over here. So if price breaks through this point over here, it's not the end of the world. All we have to do is be ready, right, to trade the opposite direction, right? Let me just change these colors. Yeah. So for now, what we need is a change of structure to confirm that price is indeed going down. I'm not fully convinced that price will go down in the long run, but in the market, we work with confirmations, right? If we zoom in, there is an imbalance over here, right? And price might have incentive to take out if it does drop, but that's only a matter of time till we actually see what's going on. All right, let's go to the weekly. If we go to the weekly, you'll see this price. So we took the liquidity over here, right? And then after taking liquidity, we created a high that was lower than this high. We just have to break this low over here. So what we see in the market doing recently is breaking the structure over here. Right? So now my chat is usually with these breakout structures, like you want to see price spending time away from a zone before going back to retest it, right? Or else I might consider it as a liquidity trap, not necessarily a valid area where we should be taking orders. And then we formed this supply zone over here, which we know is confirmed because it has broken through previous structure. The one thing that we are waiting on though is the consolidation away. So if we get that consolidation away, it means that in the coming week, price should go up to retest this. Tap here to grab liquidity. And then yeah, this is the first scenario. If this does not play out, price could go up. And if it does go all the way up, it has to break through this level. If it breaks through this level, then we'll see what happens after there. So what I'm saying is that the scenarios depend on the reaction on the zone, right? Because like I said, on the monthly uptrend is still intact, although we're in a seller's territory and sellers are in control. If you look at the weekly, if you look at the daily, we have this untested level of supply, which is nested within the higher time frame supply. So we also have this imbalance to the left that creates incentive for price to go up and fetch those orders. So as you can see, it's a slow movement to the upside. But like I said, we'll see as the week plays out or turns out how that actually happens. If it does happen, I'll be placing a limit order here, always using proper risk management, and then taking profit at the next zone. But anyways, guys, this is all I have for you. I know this video was very short, but this is because I'm actually out. But yeah, we'll be back in my office. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and see you guys soon. For now, peace.